Hello to everyone, and thank you very much for taking your afternoon off to listen to me talk about myself. So, obviously, if you don't know who I am, my name's Jamie Webster. I'm from Liverpool. I'm from the West Derby Croxteth area of Liverpool, so the north end of the city. Yeah, and I'm obviously a singer, songwriter, performer. That's what I do now for me living. Um, it wasn't always that way. It took me the best part of 10 to 11 years to realise that this is what I was going to do for hopefully the rest of my life. I still don't know though. But yeah, so I started off. Obviously, I went to school like most of you are probably just not normal, normal lads. Didn't really like school that much. Definitely didn't want to go back to sixth form because I just didn't think it was for me. I loved football like most lads my age. Um, to play for Liverpool was obviously my dream as a kid. And then once I turned about 13 or 14, I realised I was nowhere near good enough for that. So that dream died a death there and then. But as for the music, obviously it was something I've always loved doing. It's something it's always made me happy listening to music. And playing music at first, something I didn't really like. It was something my mum wanted me to do, to learn the guitar. And but I think it was probably once I turned about 14, 15 that I, started really enjoying playing the guitar and singing. And it was from listening to different types of music that made me want to write music myself. So I started a band when I was about 15. We were terrible. We were absolutely terrible. We actually played gigs to no one. Nobody come to watch us sometimes because we were that bad. And say we were just 5 or 6, 15-year-old kids who thought we were, well, I thought I was Liam Gallagher at the time. And the rest of the lads in the band thought that they were rock stars before they could even play their instruments. But that's just something you go through, I suppose, as a young and angry and hungry teenager. But obviously, like I said to you, I didn't want to continue with school. So once I'd done my GCSEs, I got a job as an electrician. Well, I got an apprenticeship as an electrician. And, for the time being, like the early days, I liked it because it was putting money in my pocket. I was able to go and follow Liverpool home and away, and up and down the country, sometimes in different countries in Europe if I'd saved up enough. And that was all I really wanted to do. And then it was obviously the more I played music, the more you know, the more that I enjoyed it, the better I got. It's like that with everything, isn't it? And I started to get more and more gigs on Friday nights. Saturday afternoons, even christenings and parties and birthdays of a Sunday. I was getting these little gigs just playing covers because by the time I got to 16, I realised just how bad the band was. So we decided to call it a day. And I just decided to do my own thing and play around a couple of pubs with my acoustic guitar. And obviously, like I said, I was following Liverpool up and down the country. And what happened for me was loads of my mates who I was, meeting on the coaches and, in the pubs that I shouldn't have been in before and after the games. All these people started coming down to watch me sing. And, at the time, I really wasn't really that good. I could sing a little bit, I could play a little bit, but it was always, for me, it was about the passion. And I think that's why so many people, got on board with what I was doing in the early days when I was just singing covers in pubs, because people could tell that I really wanted to be there and I really enjoyed doing what I was doing. And I give it 100% in any gig or every gig, whether it was to 2 people or whether it was to 200 people at the time. The sweat would still be pouring off my forehead, and you'd see me. I'd look like I'd just walked into a shower fully clothed. I'd be that wet after every gig because of the sweat and how much I was giving it. And that's how my reputation started to sort of grow. And then obviously Liverpool started to, we started to do better and better and better. And I started to get gigs after Liverpool matches in pubs around Anfield. And it was those sort of gigs, and obviously the early days of Boss Nights, which a few of you may have seen or know about, which is basically just a gig for Liverpool fans to go and enjoy after the game. And I started doing then, and then more and more videos got put out on me on social media. You know, that led to the club getting involved with me, Liverpool Football Club, and, you know, asking me to do some fan events for them and asking me to do some TV appearances where I was playing for a couple of ex-players and stuff like that. And that's really where, obviously, Liverpool Football Club has got massive support all around the world, not only just in Liverpool or in the country. So I was getting a lot of recognition from further afield, you know, more people from America and Ireland and all these places that I thought, you know, I'd never didn't care who I was, never mind knew who I was. All these people started, you know, tweeting me and messaging me on social media and stuff like that, and it all started from there. Really, it started to build, and then obviously, we got to the European Cup final the first time in Kiev, and the club asked me to actually play for the fans out there, and it was the first time I'd ever been out of the city to play music, and it was going all the way to Ukraine, which was I thought was quite a jump. But as I say, the club, you know, all I had to do that day was just do what I've done in every other gig I've ever played. You know, give it 100%, let your passion show, and, you know, just let everyone know that I wanted to be on that stage just as much as they wanted to be in the crowd watching me. And that's how I've always made it work for me, because I'll tell everyone here right now, I am not the best singer in the world. I wouldn't even class myself as a very good singer. I can make it work for me. I can hold the tune. I'm definitely not the best guitarist in the world. You know, I'm not. I play basic chords, couple of bar chords, and I'm just now learning to do a couple of little fancier bits because I'm a professional musician. It's about time that I learned in it. But like I say, it's not all about the actual talent or your technique or what you can actually do. It's about how much you believe in yourself and how much you believe in what you're doing. And that is what got me from playing in pubs to, you know, sometimes no people, sometimes 10 people, sometimes 100 people. That's what made me jump from those pubs to playing to 10,000 people in Kiev. Nothing more than just, you know, really, really wearing my heart on my sleeve and letting everybody see what I could do and just how much I love doing it. So then, obviously, at the end of that, I got took to America with Liverpool again, which was an unbelievable experience to go and play in America. It's something that you dream of as a young musician, you know, like making your way. And then after that, the thing I'm probably most famous for now is, you know, we got to another Champions League final the year after, and, you know, there was 60,000 people in front of me in Madrid. And again, you can see the videos on YouTube. You'll hear my voice isn't great. You know, I'm no Freddie Mercury. I'm not, you know, not making people cry with me high octaves or me fancy tones. It's nothing like that. I just try and be as real as possible and give people as much energy as they need to get where I am. And obviously the gig in Madrid was amazing. Probably the best day of my life up to now. And from that, I got to really fulfill my dream. I got a record deal from that day, and it's led to me quitting my job as an electrician and, you know, being a full-time singer-songwriter. And that was the end goal for me. Obviously, like I said, I started the band when I was 15, and all I wanted to be was Liam Gallagher or Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan, mainly, the older I got. And I just wanted to play music all day and write songs for a living. And thankfully now that I'm working in that environment, and it's about, you know, it's just a good lesson to say, if you do enjoy something, you know, you should always try and pursue a career in what you do. I mean, I haven't spoken from someone who worked as an electrician, it's not a bad job, you know, the money's decent enough, it's a good career. But I genuinely, I mean, Dad was an electrician as well, and some of my uncles were electricians, so it's not as if I didn't have people around to help me. But I genuinely just didn't enjoy getting up at, you know, 6 o'clock and going and working on a site and crawling around in lofts and under floorboards all day. I mean, don't be wrong, it's a really good trade, and it can make for a good life if you work hard enough at it. But, you know, I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, and I'm just lucky, I suppose, that the football gave me a route into music, which is probably the most unorthodox thing that could ever happen. But it wasn't it wasn't intentional. I was just trying to enjoy myself and following that enjoyment and following that passion as much as I could, and trying to do it as much as I could. And it led me into be able to doing it, you know, like I say, full time for a living. And I suppose a typical day of work for me now is, you know, besides talking to, you know, a lot of people who are interested to hear about what I've got to say, which is, I always find it quite strange, and it blows me mind that people, you know, do like want to hear what I've got to say and what I've got to sing. But like I say, the typical day for me now is I'll get up, I'll see to me emails, you know, like I've got management now on a record label, so normally I have an update off them off a couple of things that they want me to do. But other than that, I'll probably go into my little music room that I've made for myself in my house. I pick up my guitar and I'll try and write some songs. I might go and do, you know, a bit of promo, a bit of video, like, again, podcasts, gigs when they come back finally, hopefully. You know, so it's also some, you know, you go to the recording studio, you record. I also have to think about, you know, ways of getting people to buy tickets to come and see me on tour, to try and get me tours sold out. There was a lot more to the music industry that I actually thought there was. I thought, I've signed a record deal, all I'm going to have to do is turn up and sing songs. And for anyone who is looking to get into this area of industry, I just let you know, it is a little bit more than that. But once you get your head around it, it's you know, it's really, really enjoyable. If it's what you love, obviously. I mean, you know, you work with promoters, you work with tour managers, you have your own manager, you work with a record label, you work with publishers. There's so much to the industry, but the good thing about it is, because there is so much to the industry, there's a part of the industry that can suit you. You know, if you're not like me and you feel that performing on a stage isn't your forte, but you can really write a song, or you can, you know, you might like to record music, you know, like to be an engineer, and there's so much of the music industry that you can do. And like, if you want to write for films or you want to write for programs, that's publishing. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it is a big world in the music industry, but you know, there's a lot for you to get stuck into. And you know, for me now, I'm still learning. I wouldn't sit here and lie to you and tell you that I know everything there is to know about the music industry, because I definitely don't. I'm learning every day, as I'm sure, you know, if you speak to your parents, or, you know, and if, you know, you've got siblings or cousins who are older than you, you know, you might think that they know what they're doing every single day, every minute of every day. You might think they've got the answers for everything. But I tell you now, as a 27-year-old, still emerging musician, you do learn every single day. You learn something new. And that's what's enjoyable about my job. Every day can be different, and there's always a challenge, and there's always a way to overcome it. There's obviously one or two ways to overcome challenges, and working that out is what I enjoy. But for me, the main thing, what I love about doing my job, is that I get to connect with people all the time in so many different ways, whether that's on social media, whether they're tweeting me and they're telling me that they like this song or that song, or whether they're telling me that I need to write a new song for a new Liverpool player, or whatever it is. You know, it's amazing that my job is basically to connect with people. Well, like I say, whether they're listening to me music, whether I'm stood in a gig with them and I'm quite literally bringing people together, closer together in the name of music or Liverpool Football Club, whatever it is. That's the most enjoyable thing about my job, is that I get to meet so many different people, and, you know, bounce off so many different people in so many different ways. And yeah, obviously, just to play me guitar and sing every day of my life, it's definitely something that, if you would have told me 5 years ago when I was on a building site that this is what I would be doing now, I would have told you to get lost. Probably not in such nice words either. And yeah, it just goes to show what a lot of hard work and a lot of passion. And I wasn't focused. I was not focused on, I want to be earning money from music as my living. That wasn't what it was. I just, like I said to you earlier, I just enjoyed the whole experience. I enjoyed living as much as I can in that industry. And, you know, I worked really, really hard at it. It didn't happen overnight. People might think it happened overnight because they've finally seen videos of LA and whatnot, you know, on YouTube, and all of a sudden you see me at all these big events. Look, I've been playing music, I've been playing in pubs, like I said, for over 10 years. Like, I've really done the dirty work. I'd work all day in my day job. I'd get home, I'd take my tools out my car, my ladders out my car, I'd put my speakers into my car, and I'd drive to a pub and I'd play till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Same again next day, I get back out working as an electrician, and then that Saturday night I'd do the same thing, changing my speakers over in my car, sometimes on a Sunday afternoon as well, if, like you said, if it was christenings or parties or whatever it was. I was just constantly work, and it wasn't work to me, it was gig. I enjoyed it, it was excitement. And the constant years of the back and forward, playing in all different pubs, you know, taking a load of stick off people who probably didn't like you or didn't like the music you were playing, people telling me to play songs that they knew and that they liked, and having to sort of learn songs that they knew, and, you know, just all of it, controlling crowds, everything. It was just something that I loved. And that's how I've got to where I am through not trying to make it happen, just being there and working hard, and just, like I say, trying to enjoy myself as much as I can, and letting everyone else know that I am enjoying playing to them. And yeah, so for anyone who is looking to, you know, to move into my industry, the best thing I could say is, if it doesn't happen overnight, don't be disheartened. And no one's going to give it to you. No one's just going to give it to you on a plate and say, yeah, look, this is this, without you wanting it through, you know, like I say, I'm sounding a bit like a broken record here, but through hard work, there is really, in my opinion, there's no other way to get anywhere but through hard work. You get out of life what you put into life. So if you really, you know, if you're really focused and you're really in it, you're gonna reap the rewards somewhere along the line. And like I say, whether it takes a year, whether it takes 2 years, whether it takes 10 years, like it did for me, if your passion's there and you believe in yourself and you enjoy it, don't worry, just keep doing it. And, you know, before you know it, things will start to change, and you will start making moves. Do you know what I mean? And you will find out which parts of the industry are right for you. You know, just explore everything and do your research. It's not like if you're looking to, if you're right, for example, I haven't spoke to any of you yet. Questions haven't opened up. But if you're a young singer songwriter, you know, and you're recording songs and you're trying to release them, you know, get online, have a look at the platforms that are out there for emerging artists. Have a look at you know, it's not so much magazines now, it's almost like a Twitter magazine or an Instagram magazine. If you look at these social media platforms, for example, This Feeling, Get Into This, they really promote young and upcoming bands. And, you know, they will try and get you gigs, not only in your own city, but outside of your city, you know what I mean? Google who these people are, Google who's making things happen in the city, and don't worry about, like, you know, knocking on their door or sending them an email or phoning them up, because it lets them know that you're keen. You know, just for example, BBC Introducing, you know, there's a hub of that on Merseyside, and they really do go above and beyond to support, you know, local young artists who are trying to get into the industry. You know, research that, you know, send them your songs, and find one of the DJs on Twitter and annoy them every single day of your life. Do you know what I mean? Because if that's how much you want it, surely enough, somewhere along the line, they're going to see that, you know. But don't expect, like I said, that the main thing, you can do all this and you can push, but don't expect it to be given to you. It will come, but you've got to take it yourself. And that, like I say, that's through just not stopping, being focused, and just hammering it home as much as you can, as much as you get the opportunity to. And yeah, I suppose you know, you look at me now, you might find yourself, I feel really lucky to be, you know, part of my working day is to sit here now and talk to all you people about how I made it happen and how it happened for me. You know, if you work hard enough, you could be here yourself in a year's time, a couple of years' time. Who knows? You could be, I hope so, that you're heads and shoulders above me. You could be signed to, I'm only signed to an independent record label within the city. You could be signed to a major record label, touring the world. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Nobody knows what's around the corner, and that's my point. But you can definitely have some sort of input as to what might come around the corner, and that is by you doing what you do as much as you can. And yeah, I'm just, like I say, I'm really, really thankful that so many of you are here to listen to me today. And yeah, for me, I think my job makes a difference in the sense that, you know, I can make people connect. I can take people away from the 9 to 5 routine. I can take people away from, you know, the daily grind of life just for 5 minutes with playing them a song or whatever. And that for me is one of the most special things about what I do. And yeah, like I say, I'm really, really, really feel really lucky to be in the position that I am, that I do call music my job now, and also I suppose football, because it's, you know, part of my music is intertwined very much so with Liverpool Football Club. And yeah, you know, when I'm going out, and I don't know if any of you, some of you might been to some of my gigs, some of you might not, but when I'm out there on the stage in front of, you know, a lot of young people like yourself, and I see them having a good time, so what I'm doing, it really does hit home, like just what a great thing, you know, music is and live music is. And if, you know, if you're looking for any advice in the future, you know, all you got to do is send me a tweet, you know, and I'll be happy to help. If you do have a song out, you know, say tweet me, send me. I'm always happy to give people a leg up and at least listen to what people are doing, and I'll give you my honest opinion. And I suppose I've spoke for a bit now. I could talk for a lot longer. I could talk the back legs off a donkey if I wanted to. But now, if any of you want to ask me any questions, you know, if Richard's okay with that, I'll open the floor. And yeah, just be nice to me, please.
Is that Greg?
I'm shaking right now. Oh my God. Hey, right. First off, Jamie, I listened to your album and all that, yeah. I love you so much.
What's your name? Sorry, mate.
Greg.
I can't see it. Greg. Right, let me just make the view a bit bigger, mate.
Good.
Right, here we are. How are we, Greg? You all right, mate?
I'm sound. Just want to say I love your music so much, honestly. I just want to ask, for you, what was the biggest, like, kind of what the hell's going on moments, like when you realised, like, you know, that your life was kind of changing?
First and foremost, mate, thank you very much. I'm glad you like the music. There's plenty more of it coming. Don't worry about that. I suppose the one moment where I really like stopped myself and thought, you know, what's going on here, it was probably the American trip that I first done with Liverpool, and obviously I was on the plane with all the first team, and it was I actually knocked Lazar Markovic's bag off the air, and I apologised to him, and like a few of the players were laughing with me and stuff like that, and but it wasn't that. It was a couple of days into the tour. You know, I was still, when I first seen it, it was like, wow, what's going on? But a couple of days into the tour, the club took us out for like a meal and drinks, and Robbie Fowler and Ian Rush were on tour with the club, and they asked me to come and join them for a bevy. And I was obviously dead shy, dead nervous, didn't know where to look. And I ended up having up 2 or 3 with them and talking about all sorts. And then I was getting off because I had a gig the next day and I didn't want to overdo it, obviously. So I didn't want to make a show of myself to the club, turning up hungover with a bad throat and stuff. So I said, look, thanks very much for having a drink with me. I'm going home now. I'm going to go back to the hotel. And Ian Rush asked me if I knew where the hotel was. And I said, yeah. So he asked me if I'd walk back to the hotel with him, because he didn't know how to get there. So it was about 2 o'clock in the morning in Charlotte, which is like North Carolina, so like South America, like southern states of America. And I always remember my granddad. I used to want to be a striker when I was little, and my granddad, before he died, was a massive Liverpool fan. And I always remember him showing me a video cassette of the history of Liverpool FC. And he used to say to me, watch Ian Rush. If you want to be a striker, watch Ian Rush. There was no better striker than Ian Rush. So I told Ian Rush this walking home after a few bevies. And as we got into the hotel, he said to me, well, you know, look, I'm sure if your granddad was here now, he'd be very proud of what you're doing. And I was out the lift on like the 6th floor. He was on the 26th in a nice big penthouse and stuff like that. And I literally walked out the lift and I just started crying, you know, because I was thinking about my granddad, and like I was thinking that was one of my granddad's heroes, never mind me dad. And I'm sort of working with him. And I think I phoned my girlfriend straight after it, and I was like, my voice was trembling. I couldn't believe it. You know, like Ian Rush, he's the all-time Liverpool top goal scorer. Like the young, you know, 9-10-year-old me was wetting his pants. Do you know what I mean? At that moment in time. And yeah, it was just that was when I thought, wow, like, you know, this is unbelievable. Like, what how have I got from, you know, the back of a pub in Anfield to a 5-star hotel lift with Ian Rush in America? Do you know what I mean? It was just it was a mad sort of moment when it just clicked that, you know, things had started to change a little bit quite quickly. But like I say, the most important thing for me was keeping my feet on the ground and not letting it get to my head and not thinking I was a big time rock star. And I still don't think like that. I still find it mad that yourself. I still find it mad that you're nervous to talk to me. I just see myself as a lad like you. You know what I mean? A Liverpool fan, a music fan, and I'll always try and keep that mindset because, you know, there are people who get success and they let it go to their heads, and that's something that I always sort of promised I would never let that happen. And I always try and be true to myself and true to the people who put me where I am, and that's people like you. So yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for your question.
No problem, mate.
That's great. Cheers, Greg. Nice wearing his Liverpool cap as well for the occasion. I see a couple of people wearing the Liverpool kits as well.
Yeah, I seen someone put a Liverpool kit on halfway through the talk, actually.
That was me, that Jamie.
There you go.
Never hide your colours, mate. Never hide them.
Here you go, I'll go next. I was there at Kiev where you performed, and I do have to say that was the best thing I've saw. It was my first ever Champions League final.
Right.
You really got the fans going. How did that feel for you? Because it got me emotional going towards the game. So I'm walking into the ground with my granddad and all that, and I'm just in tears because of the performance.
Yeah, I must admit, I was the same as you, mate. I remember coming off that stage and just feeling invincible. I don't know about you. I just felt like nothing could go wrong in the world ever at all. I mean, obviously, I was wrong because we got beat, but you know, coming off the stage and walking down towards the stadium with 10-20,000 people like myself. I mean, it was a really, really proud moment that, like, I felt like I'd put these people into this mood a little bit, you know what I mean, with what I'd done on the stage. I must admit, from the stage, because you know, we were in the Ukraine, you know, the sound system wasn't very good. The guitar that I was playing that they give to me really wasn't very good. So I couldn't hear anything when I was on the stage. All I could hear was my own voice. I couldn't hear what was coming out of the microphones, but all I could see for 360 view every time I turned around was just absolute chaos. But in the best way possible, you know what I mean? I could see, like you said, did you say you were with your granddad then, Callum? Is that right?
Yeah. It was me, granddad, my great granddad, and my little brother. So the lot of us went to Kiev. Sadly, they couldn't get tickets for the game, but me and my granddad managed to get in the stadium.
Oh, happy day. You see, what I seen on that stage was exactly what you just told me. Was, you know, families together, enjoying a day out. That is literally what football is all about. That Shevchenko Park for me is what is the epitome of football and football support. Do you know what I mean? Not so much music, because all I was doing was shouting. I wasn't even singing that day because I couldn't hear myself. Do you know what I mean? But like, that is what support is all about. You know what I mean? We were in an unknown country. We were playing against Real Madrid. Hardly anybody had tickets to the game, but we were all there to show off our city and to show off like how proud we are to be where we were and to be back amongst the European elite. And yeah, that day to me, I suppose that day was the proper start of everything for me. And I'll never forget it. So thank you very much for being there and making it so memorable for me, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Thanks for showing up on this. Like, I am quite literally, I'm starstruck right now.
Don't be starstruck. You're going to make me go red, lad.
Up the red, men.
Up the red, men, mate. Anybody else got a question or two while I'm here?
Anyone else want to chime in? If anyone has a little think about what we want, I'll ask a question, because I want to know, obviously, the young people come on the call and stuff and want to find out a little bit more about yourself, Jamie. You're probably a bit of an inspiration to them. Sorry to make you go red again. But I was wondering, like, who are your inspirations? Like, from a personal life point of view, but also in music, and then also in football as well. You mentioned Ian Rush. But
yeah. I mean, personal life, I suppose. My mum and dad were a big inspiration to me, because Steve, like I said, work ethic is what I bring to the table in most things that I do. And my mum and dad, they worked so hard to give me the opportunities and, the advantages that they never had. Like being able to go to music lessons, like being able to have a guitar and, to go to the football games and stuff like that, and just, I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth, but I never went without. Do you know what I mean? And that was down to that, and my brother and sister the same. And that was down to the hard work of my mum and dad. And they were the ones who taught me that you get out of life what you put into it. So, in terms of a close personal inspiration, my mum and dad definitely were that. From a football sense, obviously I mentioned Ian Rush, but I think for me, the biggest player that made me sort of want to play football and want to, be a scouser and go out and be myself was Jamie Carragher, because he was much like, obviously his name was Jamie, and as a little lad, that was something that I thought was quite cool. But it was more as I got older, because like I say, I've said it a few times, guitar playing wise, talent wise, I haven't got that much of it. I've just got loads of passion. And I feel like Carragher was the same as a footballer. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't. I mean, I know him well enough now, and he'd probably batter me for saying that. But like, he wasn't someone who'd do 3 or 4 step overs or play an 80-yard pass to someone's feet. But he wore his heart on his sleeve, and he never ever gave in. The amount of last-ditch tackles that he made just through sheer determination and grit and wanting to be there and wanting to make a difference and wanting to go the extra mile for his team. That was what always resonated with me about Carragher. Much to the same thing that I was much like him as a footballer. I wasn't very technical, wasn't very fancy, but I liked to tackle and I liked to run around and shout my head off like he did, you know what I mean? And so my biggest, Steven Gerrard, he was every kid's hero, but for me, like influence-wise, Carragher was the one. He just always reminded me of one of us. Do you know what I mean? And I always felt like I could relate to him on the pitch and off the pitch in so many ways. And so Carragher was that. In music, obviously, like most young musicians who are where I am at the moment and playing the type of music that I do, Oasis were like and Liam Gallagher's voice was like the gateway to me thinking, wow, there's something more to just actually what's on the radio. Do you know what I mean? Like music, it can be powerful. It can take you places. And Liam Gallagher, and obviously being from Liverpool, the Beatles were a big influence on me as well, because they were basically pioneers of the music industry. And the fact that they come from round the corner is, you know, you couldn't be more proud of that. You know what I mean? There's literally no bigger musical phenomenon than the Beatles, and they are from the streets of Liverpool, which is, for me, was just something that you know, it was always like, it was always a sign to say, you know, you can do it, and because they did, and they didn't even know what was happening. Do you know what I mean? They didn't know what they were doing. They were just doing it because they loved it, which again, it's another great example for you. So it's not about like focusing on, you know, earning money from it or anything like that. It's just about doing it, loving it, and wanting to perform on higher stages and to higher levels just because you want to, and because that's what you want, not because it's going to put an extra 30, 40, 50 quid in your pocket or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That should not be the focus, you know, for a young musician. It should never be. It should always be about the art and what they're doing. And yeah, so they were the early influences, but the man who really, really made it for me think it was possible was Bob Dylan. Because, like I've said to you about me guitar playing and me singing, I'm not going to say it again because you'll think, all right, lad, you've said it enough now. But Bob Dylan was very much the same. His voice isn't, you know, he couldn't stand in a choir and sing. His guitar playing, you know, he couldn't play in a solo from a Guns N' Roses song. But the stories he was telling and what he was putting across was just real life in music. 3 or 4 chords and the truth is what he said. And when I first read that, that was what made me really think, hang on a minute, lads, you know, Bob Dylan's one of the biggest that you know, you could probably ever get in terms of a solo singer-songwriter, and that's all he's doing. And, you know, when you were listening to the music, you were thinking, oh, it's actually not that complex. It's just, he's just writing from the heart. All right, yeah, he'd read a few more dictionaries than I had, like, you know what I mean, in terms of his vocabulary. But it was definitely, it didn't seem too far away from what I was doing at that moment in time. And it really did give me, that was what really, you know, this, you can do it. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you do now. No one can tell you can't do anything. Even if your voice, like I say, even if your voice isn't pitch perfect, you know, there's people out there like Lou Reed who couldn't sing a bar. Do you know what I mean? But he made it work for him because he believed in what he was doing. And for me, that's a lesson in itself. Do you know what I mean? There's, you know, I don't know how much familiar everyone is here with bands and music, but the Red Hot Chili Peppers singer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, people have heard of them, and I can guarantee you, if I played you 5 of the main songs, you probably know all of them. Now, their singer can't sing to save his life, but he, you know, he really, really works at it. He works hard. He gets it over the line. He puts it away and across. And he sings in a way that doesn't really overexert himself. But the lyrics that he's writing and the way he sings them and the way he performs, it doesn't matter whether his voice is pitch perfect or not. He's there in the moment, believing in what he's doing, and that is it. You know, that this fella's a multi-millionaire living in a massive house in Hollywood, and he can't sing. Do you know what I mean? But it's all about the passion. It's all about the work. You know, if you were to read his book, his name's Anthony Kiedis. Just for anyone who is, you know, who may be that looking down that route. It was one of the only books I've ever read, by the way, and it was, you know, to show how much he wanted it and how much work he put in and all the empty venues he played and all the setbacks he had, you know, in the early days to where he is now. And like I said, it's not all about your talent. It's not all about, you know, well, like I said, what you can actually do. It's how much you believe in yourself and how much you believe in what you're doing. That is the main thing. And like I said, one last time, the hard graft. You won't get anywhere without it. And that you know, that for me is probably the best thing I could say to anyone, any young musician or any, you know, anyone looking. It doesn't even have to be in music, you know, whatever it is that your passion follows. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is, as long as you believe in yourself, you know, and you work hard at what you're doing, eventually, not overnight, but eventually, things will start to, you know, go the way that you want them to, in the way that you thought that they would. But you just got to hang in there. That's literally the best lesson I can give to anyone. And last but not least, make sure you're enjoying it. Make sure you're enjoying it, because that's the only reason I've come on here to talk to you about, and how to get into something that you enjoy doing. And like it is really, really important, because you know you're gonna live. I'm 27 now, and you know I'm gonna live for, hopefully, you'd like to think, for at least another 27, 30 years. Do you know what I mean? And for me to be looking ahead at that length of time and thinking I'm doing something that I really don't want to do for a long period of time, you're not going to be as happy as you could be. You know, I suppose it is easier said than done, but you know, if you do have a passion for something, just follow it, because sooner rather than later, you'll be going to work every day with a smile on your face. You'll be excited for what's coming. It's definitely, I just don't buy into just get a job, put money on the table. You know, in some circumstances, people have to do those things. But if you're not backed into a corner and you've got options, use your options. That's what I'm saying. Because, the last thing that you'd want to do is rush into something just for a few quid. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, 35, and you think, I don't enjoy what I'm doing. I've got to do this for another 15, 20, 25 years, whatever else. Life's about living and being happy, as far as I'm concerned. And the best way to be happy is to do things that make you happy. It's not rocket science, do you know what I mean? It really isn't, for me, anyway. I hope I've upset anyone in what I'm saying. It is just my opinion on how I see things, but it's definitely, look, being happy is better than not being happy, innit? You know what I mean? It's like I say, it's not rocket science, it's common sense. So to everyone who's listening today, I just follow what makes you happy, and I can't really say much more than that. And just, thank you very much for listening in. And obviously, if anyone has got a question just before I go, now's the time, I suppose. But it's been great talking to you as well.
That seems like a perfect place to end it as well. I mean, unless anyone does have any questions, but I just want to say a massive thank you to you, Jamie. I wish you all the best with the album and everything as well. But I think in a year where, as a Liverpool fan myself, we've not had any fans going to the matches, and I think it's kind of telling. I think it kind of comes across, the passion's not there. And for me, someone like yourself sort of epitomises the passion of football, really. With Callum talking about going to the final and getting everyone cheered up. So I just wanted to thank you for that as well. And it's a massive inspiration to everyone else here. So I really appreciate it.
No, you're more than welcome.
Here you go. Joanne's actually asked the opportunity to give yourself a little plug here. What's the album called, and when's your first gig?
Right. So my debut album is called We Get By, and that came out in August last year. So that actually charted in the top 10 of the UK charts for my debut album, which was, again, a great success. And it was done through nothing else but fans and myself being together and being on the same page, and all that hard work of, playing them over the years. That's how I got to there. So the next album is just being recorded, so it won't be out until in between September and December, because it's a boring part of the music industry, manufacturing. But it's going to be called Moments, and I hope that everyone gives it a listen. You don't have to, but I think you'll like it. But definitely, if you want something to listen to for now, and you're exhausted with the football songs, maybe for a couple of days, especially after the last win we just had. I don't know why I was singing them all night in my head. But if you're exhausted with that, listen to We Get By. And just thank you so much for the support up to now, and keep supporting me. My first gig back is in September in the Student Union, Mountford Hall, which will be a good one. That is actually sold out, so I'm sorry if you haven't got tickets for that. But if somebody really, 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 really needed one, or two. I'm sure if you got in touch with Richard after today, I might be able to help you out with that. But having said that, in December, I've got 3 shows back to back in the Olympia, and there's still tickets for the Thursday night. But honestly, enough for me was just talking to you and have you listened to me. It really does, you know, it makes you realise how far you have come, the fact that I'm sat here and talking to people like yourselves and that you're listening to me. So thank you very, very much for everything, really. It's always nice to tell a bit of your story to people, especially people who want to know. And if I've helped you in any way, shape or form by what I've said today, you know, that's great. And that's the main reason I've come on here. And if anyone, you know, is in the music industry, like I said, and they're looking, you know, they're looking for some more advice, you know, maybe more specific advice, you can ask me on Twitter. I'm very, very approachable, as you can probably tell, or you can ask Richard, and Richard will get in touch with me, and I will definitely help out as much as I can.